but boom, we just hit 10. So somewhere in the world, my mother, Judy Barthel, is smiling because I like to start things on time, so as to
Me
respect
too.
everybody's time that showed up. And I do sincerely thank you for taking time out of your day today. It's very difficult to work on the engine while it's running. It's a very busy time, but investing, excuse me, investing in your business and investing in your clients is very important. So I take that seriously. Um, uh, Want to make sure that we get through this with pace today. I'm thinking about 30, 35 minutes. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. I will be following up with everybody to get feedback to see what we can do better, what you learned, what your takeaways are for this. And so that's kind of the housekeeping part of it. I'll just very quickly do some IAMS housekeeping. If you enjoy the content that we put out, we do have webinars every day, try and do them every day at 10 and at 2. And if you enjoy the virtual aspect of it, would strongly encourage you to apply for our upcoming academy. It's April 8th through the 10th. It's in-house here in Omaha. There's a small application fee, which you can earn back with production. And if you come and you spend the 2.5 days with us, I have no doubt that you will earn that production back. All expenses paid, and we bring in a variety of different speakers. From Matt has spoken at several of our academies before, different vendors, different products, and it's a great chance to meet the leadership and the team here at IAMS. Regarding very briefly the leadership here at IAMS, we are an independently owned IMO. We are not owned by anybody but the 4 gentlemen who sit in the corners of this building. It is their baby. And what I love about that is that if you have an idea, if you've got something you want to chase and it makes sense, we can put that together and we can make that happen. We did over $1 billion of annuity business last year. So we are strong in this space and we know what we're doing. And we sit on the precipice of the largest wealth transfer that this country has ever seen. Some estimated $80 trillion of wealth will be transferred in the next 20 years between boomers and their heirs, and making sure that the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed and the taxes are mitigated to strike eliminated as much as possible will be very important. When you balance that stat with we are some $300 trillion in debt as a country. So there will be, there is heavy emphasis on taxes, and knowing how to move this money and make it work for your clients is very important. So April 8th through the 10th, we'll be in touch, trying to get as many people as we can qualified and invited here. So we will do that. Let me just check my notes here real quick. I will end with this, and then Matt, you didn't know this, but I'm going to start with a quiz with you. So get buckled up, get your
All
thinking cap
right,
on.
sounds good.
Yep. I know you have your choice of IMOs in the marketplace, people, and we take it very serious, and it's very valuable that you're spending time with us. So if there's anything we can do to help you with your business, that's what I want to know. Okay, Matt, let's talk millions and billions. Okay. And if anybody's done
All
on
right.
my webinar before has heard this, just play along. Matt, I'm going to start giving you $1 every second on the second until you have $1 million. So in 1 minute, you have $60. In 5 minutes, you have $300. How long am I giving you $1 until you have $1 million? How many? Is it a week? Is it a
11
month?
days. 11
Buddy,
days.
did you guess or did you know that?
I know this.
It's 13 days.
All
So I'm going to
right.
do the same thing, and I'm going to do that until I give you $1 billion. How many days is it?
$1 billion. Well, I know it in years. I don't know it in days.
It
So
is
let's see.
years.
$1 billion is 31.86 years. So
Bang.
31.86.
He got it.
Boom. All
You
right.
are the first. I have won so many free beers at bars with this bet. I owe you a
Yeah.
beer when you come to Omaha because you nailed it. I just think that's
Yeah.
such an interesting perspective when we sit and talk about trillions of dollars to be transferred. And we so casually throw around millions and billions and trillions. $1 trillion is a staggering amount of money. The opportunity
Chad,
is so
I
robust.
want to go one further on that because I do this with my clients. This is how I know
Love it.
this. When I talk about taxation And I talk about how far in debt we are as a country. We're $37.5 trillion in debt. We're going into debt by $2 trillion more each year. And I talk about the difference between million, billion, and trillion. And I talk about when I was growing up, millionaires were a big thing. If somebody was a multimillionaire, it was like, holy smokes. Then all of a sudden we started hearing about billionaires. Like that was a big thing. Billionaires huge. Now we're talking about trillions of dollars that we owe in debt. And we're throwing the word trillion around like it's nothing. And I talk about a million in seconds is 11 days or 13, if what you're saying. A billion in seconds, a billion seconds ago was 31.86 years ago. You know how long a trillion seconds ago was?
You got me.
31,860 years ago. That's the difference between a billion and a trillion. 31 years, 31,000 years. So I do that same thing to talk about the difference and how much, we're talking about in terms of debt, taxation, and why we need to focus on that.
And so, just so the crowd knows, this was not set up. I
No,
love that you and I
yeah,
both have that. Well,
yeah,
that's fantastic. What a great introduction too. And I need to just hit pause here for a second because I get fired up. But Matt, I do want to say thank you for taking your time out of your business today. Ladies and
you bet.
gentlemen, Matt Gill is the president of Decision One Financial. He has over 15 years of multi-million dollar production in the retirement space. I won't begin to talk about all the areas that you're in, Matt, but I will say this, and then ask you to just give a brief highlight of or background of your
Sure.
history. But Matt is a very valued partner of what goes on here at IMES. He is personal friends with both Charles Hiring and Steve Murray, our president. And in a previous conversation, in previous conversations Matt and I have had, I would love for you to just speak for a minute about your relationship with IMES and the affinity that you have for not the
You bet.
organization, but the people who work here.
You bet.
I'd greatly
Yeah.
appreciate that. So Matt, introduce yourself to the crowd.
Yeah, you bet. Thank you, Chad. Hey everybody, how you guys doing today? I to just talk a little bit about my history. I've been with IMES for about 18 years, and that's the entirety of the time I've been in this industry. So I first got with IMES, when I first got in the industry, and like everybody, I was new. I was trying to figure out what to do, how to make money, how to market, how do I build this thing into a business. And I couldn't have found a better partnership than I found with IMES. Now, I, being here 18 years, have watched IMES grow quite significantly to where they were a much smaller IMO to where you talk about, Chad, over $1 billion in being an IMO. But what I watched them do as they grew was they stayed focused on the producers. They stayed focused on providing the service and the tools that we need. They didn't lose sight of who got them to be $1 billion IMO. It wasn't them sitting in their offices. It was us, all of us out here providing the production. And they know that. They treat us as such and they take care of us like that. One of the things that's important for me, for people to know about IMES is I've been a multi-million dollar producer, like Chad said, right out of the gate. I found some very great success. So going on about 18 years of that, qualifying for all the trips and doing all the top tier things. And when you do that, every IMO in the country seems to know about you and find out about you somehow, and they all try to recruit you. And I've done my fair share of discussions with some other IMOs. I've met with some of them. And I have to tell you, the reason I stay with IMES is not because they're good guys, it's because they're good men. Some of you on here might know the difference of what I'm talking about. I meet a lot of good guys, but that doesn't mean those are good men. These Charles and Steve and Curtis and Chris, they're good men. They are people I am happy to help succeed. I've left some other meetings with IMOs where I felt like these guys are not very good men. I would not be interested in helping them get wealthier. But with Charles and Steve and the group there at IMES, it is truly a family type of relationship. It's unbelievable. Everybody says that it's corny, but it really is. If you ever qualify for any of the IMES trips, you'll see that because it is family. My best friends in my life come from this business. Some of my wife's best friends in her life come from this business and from the connection at IMES. So that's how strongly I feel about it, Chad.
Thank you very, very much. I really appreciate that. I want to make sure that we're true to the agenda because we did have 4 bullet points we want to talk about. But
You bet.
getting to those, I think, requires some discovery. And actually, what you just talked about there, I think, is a key differentiator with you that we want to make sure that I think I would like to populate through. Can you just tell us a little bit about how you got started in your career with this?
Yeah,
What was the
sure.
idea, and how did you find that success early?
You bet. So I used to own, I still own, but for a second time, but previously, prior to this business, I was a mortgage broker. I owned a mortgage brokerage firm. And we had several loan originators that worked for us in different states, and we were doing well. My wife and I ran that business together. We thought that's all we'd ever do the rest of our lives. We used to sometimes laugh and joke and say, boy, we could accidentally make X amount of dollars in this business because it was a fantastic business. But along came 2007 and 2008, when the government changed the regulation on mortgage businesses. And it literally was like if there was a faucet of water running out that was business, it was like they just turned it off in one day, literally. And we watched our business kind of starve to death for the next few months. And I found myself looking for a new opportunity, but I wanted something that I had previously, which was I wanted something I could be in business for myself, but not by myself. I wanted partnerships. I wanted to have a back office support thing like you have in this business. I wanted to be a middleman. I didn't want to own a business where I had to have a warehouse full of products and things like that. I wanted to be like we are here, where we're the conduit to products and services that they can't get without us. And so I did a lot of searching and stumbled upon annuities. Obviously, I was familiar with insurance, but I felt like the insurance business included health insurance and life insurance and car insurance, and that was it. I had no idea about annuities, didn't even know what they were. But I found out about them. And then I discovered, because it's not just about what business you're in, but it's also about how can you market and how can you build that business. That makes a difference. And we know that's the most important part of business is marketing and prospecting and building the business. And so I found out about dinner seminar marketing. And I would say I'm going to say maybe March or April or May of 2008, I could not have given you the definition of what an annuity was. I couldn't have told you what that is. November of 2008, I did my very first dinner seminar. And I got success from that right away. And the way I found my success right away, Chad, was dinner seminars. That's what I did. I'm a good public speaker. There was good systems out there that I took a little bit from here, a little bit from there. I built my own, kind of made my own system. I've had success from that right from the beginning. I qualified for the first IMS trip that I qualified for in about 6 months. It was a 1 year qualification period. I qualified in about 6 months, and I have never missed a trip since then with IMS, thankfully. And part of that is my wife won't let me. So, once she goes on those trips and they go on the trips, they want to make sure you're
By
qualifying for those.
design.
They treat you like royalty. And those are the things we look forward to the most. So that's
Okay.
that's when and where and how I got started.
Perfect. So dinner seminars were impactful for you. How has your approach
Uh,
evolved since you started?
Well, my approach has evolved because of COVID, quite honestly. So my approach didn't evolve for 12 years. For 12 years, all I did was dinner seminars. I did the same dinner seminar. I did the same mailers. It was all the same system. We had it on autopilot. It was just we were just humming right along. Again, I thought that's all I'd ever do for the rest of my life. Along came March of 2020. March of 2020. We had done a seminar earlier than that in 2020, January of 2020. Then we were going to do another one in March. The mailer was already out. The dates were booked. Everything was done. Registrants were in. It was about 3 days before our first dinner event off of that mailer that we had the COVID lockdown. And so, that was the only thing I did for marketing was dinner seminars. And, that was it. And so my entire marketing system was shut down in a day by the government doing the COVID lockdown. And so, the group of people that I'm marketing to, they're not going to come out to a restaurant. The restaurants don't even want you coming out there. We were shut down, and I wasn't sure what was going to happen. I was spinning out a little bit, feeling like this was the mortgage business all over again. And I called Steve Murray, and I had a long conversation with Steve. And what I love about Steve, well, there's a lot of things I love about Steve, but one of the things I love about Steve is he will roll his sleeves up and he'll get in the trenches with you and he'll say, let's figure this out. Here's what I think. Here's what other people are doing. This system I don't think would work for you. This I do. Let's try this. Let's try that. And he was a true partner. He wasn't a customer service representative. And sometimes I think that we as agents feel about IMO employees as they're just there for our customer service. And that's not true. They are a true partnership. And we worked through some things and we tried multiple things, some things with greater levels of success than others. But through that process of redevelopment of my business, I transitioned to where I do a lot of webinars now. So I do a lot of online webinar stuff. And I would say prior to COVID, I did zero online meetings. Everything was in person. It was in person dinner seminars, in person at my office or in person at their home. That was it, period. The end. Now, I would say probably over 90%, probably over 95% of every meeting I have with clients is just like I'm having this meeting with you, Chad, on Zoom. What that's allowed me to do is maximize my time, multiply my efforts, and be more efficient and effective, and be able to actually run my business more as a business. Chad, you made a statement that it's hard to work on the engine when it's running. I have never heard anyone use that phrasing, but that's a perfect way to say that. I often say we spend so much time working in our business that we don't have time to work on our business. And we need to be able to do that, just like Chad mentioned. And so I've transitioned to where I do most everything digitally. I do, like I said, most of my time is spent in front of a Zoom camera instead of in front of a live client.
Thank you, Matt. And so my next question was going to be what milestones and decisions most contributed to the change of your business, but you answered that very well. And so what
Well, I
intrigues
can
me now,
expand on that a
oh,
little bit,
okay,
though,
if you want to, sure.
because the reason I can expand on that a little bit is that is true. Those were the physical external milestones and things that happen. But to change your business, it's not what happens externally, it's what happens internally that changes your business. And so when COVID hit and we were literally spun out, I mean, we were spun out. My wife and I were thinking, great, here we go again, just like
Mm,
what happened in the mortgage business. And now we're going to have to recreate ourselves and we've done that dance enough times in our life. It was a little bit disheartening, to have to think about doing that. But we made a couple of decisions during COVID. So one of the decisions that I verbalized with it's my wife and I, our two adult children work for us running the day-to-day operations of our business. And we had some team meetings and a couple of the things that I said we need to do through this process. First of all, anytime there's adversity, you have two choices. You can either give up or you can survive through it, right? And if you survive through it, the question mark is on the other side, what happens? Do you come out worse or do you come out better? And I made a commitment that we will make it through this and we will come out better. So what we didn't do was happy hours every day on Zoom with our friends. And we didn't just sit around and say, we're going to take a few months off. We said, we're going to dig in and we're going to, while the engine is off, as you said, Chad, we're going to open the hood and we're going to do an entire retooling of what's going on here. And we're going to change our philosophy. Number one, from being a sales job where I'm the salesperson to being a business. And when we become a business and we start thinking of ourselves as a business instead of just a salesperson, then we need to transition from being a business that chases people to a business that attracts people. And those were the couple of things we were very focused on. How do we do that? How do we market differently? Because we had to do
mm.
that. But how do we shape ourselves more into a business, a full service business? And how do we get people to be attracted to us versus us constantly just chasing people down? And those were the thought processes we operated under when retooling our business. And it's been a great success for us.
So let me share an experience that I have on my desk that I think that you have found the solve for. I make over 100 calls a day. I'm talking to 50 to 75 different advisors around the country on a variety of different things. And a common theme that I get is everybody wants to know, where's the sack of magic beans? What's new
Uh-huh.
today? How,
Yeah.
what's hot right now? What came out overnight that's going to change my business? And
Yeah.
there are no shortage of things to try. So you have your business owner hat on now, Matt.
Yeah.
How much are you working on your business? How many platforms, or how much you have a marketing system set up to attract people?
Mhm.
Talk to me about that from 30,000 feet.
Sure. You bet. So, the first thing I want to say there, Chad, is there is no sack of magic beans. There is no magic bullet. There is nothing that's going to be one thing and you're like, wow, that fixes everything. And now my business is at the level I want it to be at. I would say this, though, the success you're so desperately searching for is hidden in the very hard work that we are often trying to avoid. So that's the success, is in the hard work of figuring it out. So when we talk about from 30,000 feet, kind of a view of what we're looking at, business owner hat, a couple of things. One, you need to put systems in place. I do a lot of sales coaching. I do a lot of helping with other advisors, and people will ask me a lot about goals. They'll say, how should I set my goals? What should my goals be? Well, how did you set goals? What are your goals? And goals are good. I'm not talking bad about goals. Goals are good, but goals are for people who want to succeed one time. Systems are for people who want to succeed every time, over time. And the way you do that is little by little. So, from a 30,000 foot kind of view, first of all, everyone should be using a CRM. If you're not using a CRM of some sort, and that's a client relationship management system, if you're not familiar with what that is, you should be using that. I don't mean an Excel spreadsheet. I don't mean just notes on a white pad or a yellow pad. I'm talking about a real CRM. The reason why is you can put in every note of every conversation that you have with your clients. We're busy if we're successful in this business. I know some agents, maybe you're just getting started. Maybe you're not as busy as you want to be. Maybe you're not, your hours aren't as filled up as you would like them to be yet. That's coming. That will come. When you get successful in this business to the level you want to be, you are busy. But the importance is to not let things slip through the cracks. And so what I do, it's very low tech. There's probably high tech ways to do this that are better, but this system works for us. Okay. I have a couple of these, which are just these little small recorders. Okay. Every single communication I have with a client, phone call, email, whatever that might be, I don't care how small or how big that conversation is. As soon as I'm done, I record that. Okay. Verbally record what happened there. I also utilize some note taker apps and things like that on Zoom, but I record that system. Then I have someone else enter those notes into our CRM. And the reason I have someone else do that is it's another measure of help for follow up and knowing what's going on. But I'll tell you what happens is a client can call me and they'll ask me a question. So if you have a client and they call you and they want to know something that happened 5 years ago in your relationship, if you can't recall that and remember that, that's not a good thing. It's a very powerful thing when someone asks me a question and I can pull it up and say, actually, on May 13th, 2021, we had a phone call and here's exactly what we said. Here's the conversation that we talked about and here's what we said. And it's not always for a bad thing. It's sometimes they just want to remember what's going on. Like, where did the money transfer from? Was this money, this is the money that transferred from wherever? Why did we do the transfer to this product instead of this other one if you're doing multiple things? Whatever the case might be, it's good to have a very detailed history of all your communications with your clients, and it helps you run your business. So a CRM, I think, very, very important. Detailed notes about your communications and conversations and emails with your clients, very, very important. I would strongly recommend that you increase your communications with your already existing client base. And what I mean by that is I don't mean call them all every week, but I'm talking about something that you can automate, something that you can put a system in place. Like, for example, we do monthly newsletters. Our monthly newsletter is an electronic monthly newsletter through a service that we utilize through IMS and IMS Wealth Management. And we utilize this system. I get responses from clients all the time because there's good articles, good helpful information in there. Sometimes I'll just get a response from a client after we send out our monthly newsletter, two or three of them that'll send back that says, great information. Thanks for sending this. Or they'll say something like, I hope all is well with you and your family. You know, they are thinking about me every month. They get a newsletter, they see my picture, there's a nice message from me, there's some articles for them to read that are good, helpful articles. This is not a sales advertisement every month. They don't want that, and we don't want that. This is a newsletter. This is providing a helpful resource to them every month. What I think you want to do is you want to capture as much mind share in your current client base as you can. That is what will start to open up referrals for you. That's what will open up repeat business. That's what will open up and deepen that relationship where you become their person. And that's what you want. That's what I have with a lot of my clients, and the way we do business is I am their person. So what that means is if something comes up in their financial life, even if it's not the financial life that I'm handling, but their financial life that spreads out from there, that maybe it's something I would never even know about or something I don't do for a living. But when they have a financial question, they call me and or email me and ask me that question. And that's what you want. You want to capture as much mind share as possible. And you do that by being in front of them in kind, friendly, helpful ways. I always lead with being a helpful resource, always. And I think when you
Mhm.
do that and they feel that, they feel comfortable to come to you as a helpful resource, that will open those things up.
Thank you. Okay, we're at 10:26, so we're still well on time. But I do want to be true to the agenda. So we had 4 bullet points here. We may not get to all 4, but let's start with this top. The
Fire
first
away.
one was, how do you structure a first and a second appointment that builds trust and closes confidently?
Very good question. So I want to just take a side note and say I have a whole training thing I do on first appointments and second appointments. So that's quite long. So I'll just try to touch on it because I know we got an agenda to keep on track
Mhm.
with here. So the first thing I just said, the first thing for the first appointment is I think well, there's a few things. One, I think first impressions matter. Okay. And in today's world, I think the first impression of your first appointment often starts before you even get to it. So they're going to look you up. In today's world, they want knowledge ahead of time. So they're going to want to Google you. They're going to want to look to see if you have a website. They're going to see if you have LinkedIn, whatever it might be. So start by beefing up your online presence. Start by beefing up what that looks like and polish that up a little bit. Utilize IMS Creative for that. To me, no offense, Chad, but to me, IMS Creative is the crown jewel in at IMS. I mean, they to me have been, I can't tell you how valuable they have been to me in my business. So lean on them. They will help you. If you guys would like to look at some of the stuff they can do, go to my website, d1financial.com, and check it out. They are phenomenal. Check out our go take a look at our LinkedIn page. They help with some of that, but we have a big online presence. That's important because that's the first impression. Second is, I think you have to understand the client's mindset before you get into that first appointment. Their mindset is they're a little bit afraid of you. They might already be comfortable with you because they looked you up online. You might have been referred to them. Maybe they have a little bit of a level of comfort, but they also have a little bit of discomfort because they're meeting with you for the first time, and they're not certain if you're going to high pressure them. Are you going to only be focused on selling them something they don't want or need? In their opinion, they've dealt with those kind of things before. They have a little fear of that. You need to know that going in. Okay. And then you need to adjust your mindset going in. When I was young in this business and in any sales, I know we need money. We're not out there to be a helpful resource because we like it. We're out there because we want to be able to make money, provide for our family, the things that we need. Sometimes we can get going in our mind. That's all that we're thinking about is I need this next sale. I need this next sale. And the next time you go into a house, they're going to feel it. You're going to feel it. And the pressure is already on. So go in with the mindset of being a helpful resource period, the end. If you are a helpful resource to enough people, I promise you, you'll make enough money, you'll close enough sales. So the final thing to that is to control the flow of the information in that first meeting and understand the purpose of that first meeting. The purpose of that first meeting is not to close a sale. It's not to sell them an annuity or life insurance or whatever you're in there to talk to them about. It is not to make them commit to do business with you. It is to schedule a second appointment. That is the primary objective of that first appointment. Schedule the second appointment. So control the flow of the information targeted at that objective, scheduling the second appointment. What I mean by that is there are often people, Chad, and everybody on here knows, who a client will say the exact right thing in the first meeting. And boy, as a advisor and an agent, as a salesperson, man, your heart starts to beat a little faster, your blood pressure gets going a little bit, you're happy, you're ready, you're thinking, man, this is what I've been looking for, because they might say something like, yeah, I'm pretty disappointed with my other advisor, he lost money when I thought we were going to be safe, and I'm looking for safety. And they might say all the right things to set up for an annuity sale. And many agents and advisors will pounce on it. As soon as they open their mouth about it, they will pounce on it. They'll say, oh, I know exactly what you need. It's called a fixed indexed annuity. I don't know why your other advisor doesn't do those. And then they'll just go into what should be happening in the second appointment, and they'll do that in the first appointment. And I think that you shoot yourself in the foot by doing that. I think the way you should handle that is by statements of positivity and confirmation, by saying to them, I completely understand. You're not alone. I hear that story quite a bit, actually, about advisors that the client thought their money was safe, but yet they lost money. It amazes me that that happens out there so often, but you're not alone. We hear that a lot. The good news is there are some really good solutions for you, things that will provide you exactly what you just told me you'd like to have. What I want to do is go take some time and do some research and make sure that I recommend the exact right solution for what you just told me your needs are. But I think you're going to be really happy with what I have when we come back and get together. I think you're going to really like the solution we can put together.
Mm-hmm.
That's the way you handle a first appointment when a client is trying to lead you right into the sale. Don't fall for it, because you're going to give them too much information. And if we get too much information on the first appointment, there is no need to have a second appointment. They can fill in the rest of the blanks with Google online or calling their other advisor. You don't want that. So you want to leave some mystery after that first appointment. So when you come back for that second appointment, they're going to be looking forward to it, because you just told them they're going to be happy. There are good solutions. There's something that can provide them exactly what they're looking for. And you're going to go find what that is and bring it back to them. And they're going to be happy about that. And they're going to be ready for that second appointment and looking forward to it. So for me, Chad,
Right.
that first appointment is key in the process of how you do that. And so that's how I structure my first appointments. And then my second appointments, really short on this for today's purpose, but first of all, you got to kind of revisit what you did on the first meeting so that you can rewarm them up a little bit about what they told you, and what they said they wanted, and what struggles they were having, what issues they need solved. So reframe the position that they're in that needs a better solution. Reframe the struggles they're having. Reframe whatever they said to you, and then remind them that you told them there are good solutions and that you were going to go put in some hard work and find that solution for them. The good news is you and your team. I would also recommend you to start using words like that, my team and I, because you do have a team. Chad's on your team. IMS is your team. When you need to call in and say, I need to get an illustration, or what annuity should I use for this situation, or what income rider is best to use, that's your team doing work. So it's okay to say to the client, my team and I put in a lot of work on this analysis, and here's what we came up with as a solution for you. And then you'll present that. Now, how you present that solution matters as well. But for today's purpose, we just really don't have time to go deep into that, but that's how I would structure that first appointment leading into that second appointment. And then the second appointment, I also have a process I would go through in the second appointment, and when and where and how to ask and close that business.
Yeah. I just think it's wonderful because you talked about at the beginning of the presentation that that goals are important for succeeding once, but process is important for somebody that wants to succeed long term. And everything
Yeah.
that you talked about in there is a process. So you have a process for every part of your business. And I think that was just a
Yeah.
wonderful example of that. So we're at 10:34. I'm going to ask one more question and then I'm going to wrap
Sure.
up. But I want to transition to the digital model, effective Zoom strategies, because I'm a face-to-face guy. I think
Yeah.
I'm really good in front of a room. Sometimes
Yeah.
on the computer, though, I feel that it gets lost. Do you
Yeah.
feel that? Have you conquered that? What are some strategies around that?
Chad, that is a great question because that is the key thing that was a roadblock up here for me in trying to think about doing things digitally, because I am also very good in front of a crowd. I'm great in front of a room. I'm great in front of a crowd. I love hamming it up. I love going around and talking to them and being funny. You know, when my wife and I were doing seminars, she is an excellent person at helping work the crowd and connect with people. And, you know, it was wonderful. And I thought, how in the world am I going to transfer my personality, my passion, you know, my commitment, all the things that I need to get across to them? How am I going to do that through this little camera, you know, digitally when we're other places? Well, a couple of things about that. If you transition to a Zoom meeting or doing Zoom meetings, be intentional. Okay. Be intentional with your background, be intentional with your lighting, be intentional with your audio sound, be intentional with what you're doing. Don't just open up your laptop and have a meeting, because what happens there is sometimes you sound like you're calling in from a sat phone. They can hardly understand what you're saying. Sometimes the lighting is terrible. You don't look the best that you could look. Sometimes your background is not good. And focus on looking at the camera. That's what the client is looking at the screen. Okay. Like, for example, right now, everyone on
Where
here
am
is
I
watching
looking?
the screen. If
So
I'm
where do
looking
I
at,
look like right now? Like, am I looking at you,
you
or
look like you're looking at the screen.
should I look there?
You should look there, because
That's
now what you look
weird,
like,
dude.
Chad, is that you look like you're looking at me. So
Okay.
you look
All
like you're
right.
looking at me. Well, I'm looking right now at my camera. I can kind of see you. You're down below me a little bit, you
Yeah.
know, and I can kind of see the client, what's going on. But if I'm looking right here at the camera, I'm looking at you because you're watching me on the screen. If we're both looking at the screen, we're not looking at each other. And so we're not making that eye contact that needs to be made.
Cool
Don't make
tip.
the mistake. I've had Zoom meetings where all I see of a client is like this. You know, they're looking this way and they're looking at a screen on the side, or they're looking down here the whole time. You know, when you're having meetings like that, there's no connective tissue there. You need to connect. And the way you connect, look at the camera. Make yourself learn to look at the camera. I don't care how much you want to see yourself on the screen, look at the camera. The other thing is, you're going to have to try to set your mind to the fact that you're not talking to the camera, you're talking to a crowd of people. Now, when you and I, Chad, talk to somebody individually, one on one, that's different in person than when I talk to a crowd in person. You know, you can, so one on one, you're less likely to be kind of a ham, you know, and make some points that are loud, you know, joke it like you would in front of a crowd. But when you're on a Zoom meeting, you need to consider it like you're in front of a crowd, because they need to feel the extra that comes from you that they don't get when you, because when you're in person, it's automatically there. So now that you're not in person, you're not breathing the same air. You need to be able to present as if you are talking to a few humans. It doesn't have to be that it's a crowd of 50, but it's also not just one little old lady sitting on the other end of the camera. Don't do that. Do it like you're trying to make fun points. You know, you want to smile. You want to open your eyes bigger when you're making a point. You want to lean forward sometimes, lean back sometimes. It's all the same things that you would learn to do if you were presenting in front of a crowd. When do I raise my hands? When do I make a gesture? When do I laugh? Feel free to laugh at your stuff as well. If you say something that's funny or something that you make that's a funny point, it's okay to laugh when you're on camera like this, because that is what makes them feel like they're connecting with you. So, Chad, great question, because it is a thing that you have to do to make yourself different on Zoom than you might be in person, but it is doable. I didn't think I wasn't sure I'd be able to do it, but I will tell you right now today, I prefer Zoom meetings. I
Hmm.
actually prefer, like, I am better at doing the things on Zoom than I am in person. And I thought I was one of the best people in person that I ever knew. But I think I've even gotten better on Zoom. A couple of things happen on Zoom too. They view you as extra professional for some reason because you're on Zoom. I don't know. It's almost like they are more thankful that they're getting time to meet with you than when you show up at their house. It's an odd kind of thing, but I do prefer Zoom meetings right now. So
I wonder if
I've
there's
really
a
transitioned.
level of I wonder if there's a level of comfort, a level of protection too, because you're not in the room with me. And if you strong arm me,
Yep.
all I have to do is click a button and I'm done. Whereas if in
Yep.
person, it's very hard for someone to exit a meeting, even if, like, oh, my car's on fire, I gotta go. It's hard to
Yeah.
get out of that. So that's very,
Agreed.
very interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
Okay.
agree with that 100%, Chad. I agree 100%. They can do it. First of all, if they're coming to your office, it takes them whatever time it takes them to get ready to come to your office. If they're going to, get put on whatever clothes they're going to do, whatever. But also, it takes them time to get in the car and drive there and fight traffic and do whatever. And then they got to drive back. If you're doing a Zoom meeting, it takes them 1 minute to click connect to Zoom. You have
Mhm.
your meeting, and when you're done, boom, they're off the meeting and they can have dinner right then. I mean, it is convenient for them as well. Now, there's different types of people out there. I still have some clients. I will say this, the way I tell people is how you meet someone initially is generally how they're going to want to meet you all the time. So if you meet them in person, they're going to want to meet in person. If you meet them over a Zoom or a digital type of format, they're going to be good to meet digitally. I do a lot of online webinars. So I meet a lot of my prospects right here like this. So they're more than happy to meet right here like this. When I
Mhm.
do dinner seminars, which I still do a few of those a year, a couple of them a year, primarily because we own a mortgage business still that does reverse mortgages. My son runs that, and we do some dinner seminar for that. But one night we do dinner seminars, almost all of them want to meet in person because we met in person. So keep that in mind. How you market is also probably how you will end up meeting with people.
Matt, you have been incredibly kind with your time, and very complimentary of IMES. Thank you so much. We so value you as a partner. Someone on the call wants to engage with you one-on-one after the call. You want to talk about
Okay.
that availability?
You bet. So I only offer this program through IMES, and it's a very small part of what I do because I am a full-time producer and business. I run a full-time business president. So I run our business. My wife and I run it together, and I'm a full-time producer. So that's what I do with 90% of the time. But IMES asked me years ago. I've been coming to their academies and speaking for about 15 years, and they asked me years ago to help develop some of their agents. And that's because IMES is committed to your development. So I developed a coaching program called ACES, Advisor Coaching and Education Services, and I charge hourly. So hourly, it's $250 per hour for a Zoom consultation, training, coaching kind of session. On that, we can tailor make those to what your needs are. So I don't have a set program where I say, well, the first hour we're going to cover this, and then the third hour we'll cover this, because what you may want may be different than what the next person may want or need in their business. So we can kind of tailor make the training sessions to the areas in your business that you feel like you need the most help in. I will tell you what most people need the most help in is language. It's the language of annuities. It's the language of life insurance. It's the language of success. It's knowing when to say, what to say. It's knowing what not to say and when to not say that. All of those types of things are the type of stuff that we cover. And we got a wide range of things that we cover. So it's $250 an hour. You can schedule that. I accept those funds via Venmo or Zelle. Then once you pay the hourly fee, we schedule an hour, we hop on Zoom, and we're off and running.
That's fantastic. Um, don't see any other questions in the chat. I tried to get as many of those as I could out, but
Sure.
want to say I'm going to wrap up with I always like to share with somebody what I took from them that stuck out to me, and I am going to make goals are for somebody who wants to succeed once. That's what they're for. But systems are for those who want to succeed long term. I mean, that really
Yeah,
impacted me, Matt. And so thank you for that.
you bet.
And without knowing it, maybe, or without saying it, I think what makes you as successful as you are and different in that sphere is your sincerity. And Every time that I talk to you or I'm around you, you uplift me due to your sincerity. So thank you very much for this time. And if I will be following up with everybody, Matt, I'll get you some reports and some follow up on what we did here. But I sure hope everybody took something from this, and go be impactful to your clients. And I'm looking right at the camera when I say that.
That's right. Sounds good, Chad. And if I can be a helpful resource to you or anyone on here in any way, I truly want to do that. So please let me know. Okay.
Very good. Thank you.
Thanks a lot, Chad. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye bye.